I actually screamed, but like I live with people, so like let's not. It's also like kind of evening, so I'm gonna do my makeup and tell you guys a story that I've been meaning to get into. I've tried to film this video like 2 to 3 times already, and it was like low-key traumatic to recount, but that's okay because now I feel like I'm actually ready to share my story, so to speak. It could have been a lot worse, like it could have been far more traumatic, but like yeah, let me talk my shit. This is my worldpackers nightmare extravaganza. Oh, let me tell y'all like what products I'm using. This is the NYX brow glue in the shade dark brown. My story begins. Earlier this year, I was in Oklahoma City, which is my hometown. Shout out Thunder. They just recently won like basketball playoffs. I don't fucking know. I don't know very much about sports, but I know they won. So that's that. Yeah, I was in Oklahoma City and I was like, I'm gonna finesse my way back to LA. I'd just done a whole bunch of traveling, hadn't lived in LA for like 2 years. And I was like, what's the best way for me to get there? Having not saved up a load of money yet. And so I was like, oh, worldpackers will be a great opportunity. Like if I could stay with someone. This is e.l.f. poreless face primer. This is gonna be, for the most part, a very inexpensive makeup routine. There are a couple items that are a little up there, but for the most part, this is very accessible beauty, by the way. So yeah, I was like, it's time for me to take the leap and leave. And actually, yeah, I posted about that on my page, and I took a long hiatus after that, and this is why. Okay, so this is Morphe translucent powder. I'm not sure what they call this shade, but this is the darkest one. Okay, so I had already done a worldpackers experience, and I've also already talked about that on this channel, and that was in Ulverston, England, at this Buddhist temple, and I absolutely loved it there. I met so many amazing people, and it was legit. It was hard work, I'm not gonna lie, but it was also 3 free vegetarian meals a day, and your girl is vegetarian, and they had vegan options as well. And just like I said, everybody there was wonderful, and I learned some good things about Buddhism as well, and it just was like a spiritual rehabilitation experience that I didn't even realize I needed, because like I was meditating so often, and like they didn't force you to meditate, you didn't have to, but like it was highly encouraged, and it was an environment where you could make the time to. So I feel like I benefited a lot personally from that experience, and I grew a lot as a person as well. So I was like, okay, let's do another worldpackers experience, because I've already had a good experience, and a bitch needs housing and she needs food. So I was like, okay, let's see like what's available in Los Angeles. This dude that I'm talking about, we're just gonna call him Joe. I almost said his real name. We're gonna call him Joe, the host of this experience. Unfortunately, you can't just air out everybody's dirty laundry, or you might end up in lawsuits and shit. The most compatible option for me was going to be at this house in the mountains. Like, there's a mountain city about 45 minutes outside of LA called Wrightwood. I know people are like, what? There's a mountain city in Southern California? Yes, yes, yes. It was kind of like a ski resort town. So like it actually does snow up there sometimes, and people go up and they ski and shit. And it's like one of the only locations, if not the only location in Southern California where you can go and experience snow. So I applied to do that, and the host, as I said, we're calling him Joe, he pretty quickly responded to me and was like, yeah, sure, like you can come on down. But here's some context about Joe's situation that he was offering. He has this unique interest in adobe huts, or that's not what they're called, they're like adobe homes, something like that. But he has this unique interest in these homes that are like built out of mud, and they're fireproof as well. And so he has one in his front yard that he built himself. Every time I do my makeup on camera, because I'm not a professional, I'm like, is somebody gonna hop in the comment section and be like, bitch, what are you doing? Why do you do this like that? If you're wondering why I do my makeup like this, it's because it works, okay? Trust the process. Oh yeah, so he's obsessed with these homes. He has one in his front yard, and he f***ed it up. He didn't do it the right way when he built it, and so he had it decorated, and he even had this like really cool lizard sculpture. Like if I have a picture, I'll insert it, but he had that, and like because he built the shit wrong, it was falling apart and deteriorating, and so he had to like tear it down so that he could start over. And so he wanted volunteers to help him tear it down so that he could rebuild it. And then also you just do a little bit of housework on the side to basically subsidize the cost of the free accommodation and food. And so I was like, sweet, that doesn't sound like too hard of fucking work. Sign me up. If anybody's already asking, they're like, wait, hold on, you need to tell us a little bit more about Joe, because Sakina, this sounded a little bizarre. I'll give you some more details, okay? Joe did not have any reviews on Worldpackers when I was looking at his information. But, however, I did see that 2 other women were associated with him for volunteer work. Like 2 other women had volunteered for him, according to the site. And so that made me feel a little bit better, but I was still like, I don't know for sure if this is safe. So I was like, well, let me just like apply, and then we'll text and I'll feel it out, like if it's a good idea or not. And so obviously I apply, and he responds pretty soon. He's like, I think that we'd have a lot in common because I did the same jobs as you when I was an undergrad. I was an archivist, and I was also a lab monitor. Which is like, who fucking knows if that was even true at this point? Like, yeah, who even knows if that was true, or if he was just trying to say shit, like blowing smoke up my ass? But yeah, he was like, sure, come on down. And I just needed a fucking place to live, okay? And I needed to get out of Oklahoma. Oh my gosh, this matches my skin so well. I just got this a few days ago, and like, y'all get this. I found this foundation. Okay, I found my shade because I bought it online by looking up creators on TikTok and seeing like, does that creator look like they're my skin tone? And I was damn fucking right. Okay, so yeah, then not knowing just about anything about this guy besides apparently we'd had like similar jobs in undergrad, in that he works from home, and that he lives in Wrightwood in Southern California, and that he's on Worldpackers, which previously I've only known to be a safe site. I book a ticket to go to Los Angeles with everything that I have and use like about 2 months living with him as a buffer period for me to find a place to live, boost my income, all the things that you need in order to make it as a human being. And I was really under the impression that this was going to work, and I was hopeful. Why am I forgetting such an important part? Those 2 girls who were on Worldpackers listed as previous volunteers, one of them was still actively volunteering with him. And so when we had our conversation before I booked the ticket, what made me ultimately make the decision to assume, oh yeah, this for sure is safe, is that he actively had another young girl there, my age. I should say young woman because I am 24 years old. He actively had another young woman there, alone. Like, she was the only guest there, and he was like, you know, like, sometimes I have more than one guest at a time, so, like, if you wanted to come too, that'd be totally cool. And so I was like, okay, awesome, because I don't think I could or would go alone. Like, going to stay with a strange man alone on the other side of the country, like, not my cup of tea. Like, you know, I feel like if I knew him better, I could do that. And, like, I knew he wasn't creepy and that he would keep shit professional, then, like, sure, I could do that. But, like, just straight off the bat, hell to the fuck no. But I was like, okay, like, I won't have to do that because there's another woman there. And so that gave me the faith to go ahead. The way I almost forgot to tell y'all that this is the About Face foundation in the shade The Performer. You can't even read it. Why am I trying so hard to make y'all read this? This is the About Face foundation in the shade The Performer. Damn, this makes my skin look so good. Don't fuck with my love. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cosmos palette. It is my current obsession. Just look at all of these ethereal, glittery shades. And I don't see enough people talking about this on social media. I don't know why. Like, I'm obsessed with glittery, like watery, like translucent tones. But hey, that's just me. So, where was I? I fly into Ontario, California, which I didn't even know existed previously. But I do it, and I meet up with him as well as the girl who was staying with him at the time. She was a cutie patootie. She was from South Korea. We're gonna call her Mary, okay? But lo and behold, he has 2 pretty 24-year-old girls staying with him, and as far as I know, he has not weirded Mary out thus far. But also, Mary barely speaks English, like, at all, and whenever she doesn't understand people, she doesn't say, I don't understand you. She just laughs and she goes, perfect! Or she goes, yes, of course. like she's just affirmative and like pretends like she understands what's going on, but like you can very much tell that that's like not the case. And so that was kind of the vibe there. But like, yeah, her being there really made me feel safe. And I was like, okay, like when she leaves in a week, I'll be able to do this, because like she was spending just 2 weeks with him, but he had tons of guests in the past on other sites though. So like he had apparently had a lot of volunteers over through, I don't know, but I'll insert what it's called so you guys know what I'm talking about. He had volunteers come and work for him through that app and maybe a few others, and I didn't know why he stopped using those apps, maybe because he got kicked off of them, but lol. He had said that he'd had a bunch of guests, and he had even had male guests before, so like him talking about like all of his previous guests made me feel a lot safer as well. So I was like, this is clearly not anything to be worried about. And as it got closer and closer for Mary to leave, I was pretty confident that, you know, I was gonna be safe and sound in my own room with a lock on it whenever the hours of the late night came, and that this was a safe setup. And so it gets to the day that Mary is going to leave, and so like we wake up early-ish. We like left the house at probably like 9 a.m. to take her to her hostel in Hollywood. It was probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours both ways, but we first stopped, before we went home, we stopped at a smoothie place in LA, and then we went to Pasadena to see the damage from the fires, and that was a really humbling experience to like see that firsthand. He just had to get his dog out of the car because like he has this fucking husky, but like the vibe switched up immediately after we dropped off Mary. I mean, he'd always like wanted to have conversations before, like to an extent that I was like, oh, like I didn't realize that like part of this experience too is that you're also lonely and like you very obviously want companionship. But I was like, okay, like sure, like I'll play that game, you know, like you're letting me stay in your house for free, like I can do that. I was like, that's not that big of a deal, like it's inconvenient, but I mean like also like I'm staying at your house for free and like not having to pay for any meals, so sure, like if you want to come talk to me when I didn't approach you, I'm just like, okay, I'll be that in the time being. But it was like when Mary left, it was suddenly like, not only did he just like not allow there to be any silence like at any given moment, but like when we were out in public, because like for instance, before we even stopped to the smoothie place, he took his dog for a walk at Griffith Park. And when we were like sat down at a bench there, because it was like really hot that day, he did that thing that guys do where they like try to subtly like put their arm around the chair so that it's not like straight up touching you, but it is kind of like, why are you trying to make people think that we're together? And so I was like, okay, I'm already getting a little bit of a weird vibe from you, and now you're starting to look at me a little bit weird. And like I'd already kind of had like the feeling that he was attracted to me, but like not to be like, who isn't, lol, but I just mean like guys can be attracted to you and like not come on to you. So, you know, like sometimes they just know better. So I was like, okay, like maybe he likes what he sees, but he knows like that's never gonna happen, and that also that's inappropriate, like let's not do that. And so I was like, you know, it's probably, hopefully, one of those situations where perhaps you're attracted to your volunteer, but you didn't choose said volunteer because you were attracted to her. That's when it gets creepy. It's not problematic for you to choose someone as a volunteer and then they show up and you're like, oh, actually, I think you're hot. That's not problematic. But if you're choosing people because they're hot and you're hoping you can get in their pants, then that's fucked up. So I was just like, let's give this man the benefit of the doubt. Rule number 1 of life, ladies, never give a man the benefit of a doubt. This was me before I knew that rule. So yeah, I just gave him the benefit of the doubt, but then the energy just like totally switched up after we dropped Mary off. And then when we finally got back to Wrightwood, because the only way I literally got him to shut up in the car was I just went to sleep while he was talking, and he just needed to take the hint that like the conversation was done and over with. And so that was that. But then when we got back to Wrightwood and we got back to his place, I was like, okay, like yeah, I'm noticing the vibes are off. This is weird. It's kind of awkward. I'm avoiding eye contact because I don't want him to think that this is a situation where like you can pull out the, because guys always want to. The fact that I haven't even mentioned that this is a 40-year-old man, a literal 40-year-old man, that's behaving like this, mind you, and he knows I'm 24. It just makes it even more predatory. So yeah, we get back to his house, and at first the conversation is totally normal, but again, like, I'm just trying to make it very clear that I'm not into him like that by being just a little distant. And so we're having normal conversation that he is yet again forcing. And then he goes, all of a sudden, he's like, do you like to cuddle? And so then I'm thinking, like, okay, like, what's the best, safest way for me to respond to this? My favorite way to go about things whenever I feel like a guy's coming on to me and I'm not interested is I will always just play a little dumb. Like, I'll just act like I've never heard of romantic or sexual attraction before in my life and hope they take the hint and move on. So I was like, yeah, let me answer this kind of like just as naively as possible. And so I was like, yeah, I'm a really big hugger. And then I changed the topic of conversation like immediately because I was like, we're not lingering on this subject. Like, what the And honestly, at that point in time, I should have texted somebody and been like, hey, come pick my ass up. But I was still a little naive, still giving him the benefit of the doubt. Like, where did that come from? And so then we start preparing for dinner. And as we sit down for dinner, makeup's already starting to eat, okay? I had to speak on that for a moment. He says to me, wait, no. We start preparing for dinner. And then dinner's ready. This is the NYX Buttermelt Bronzer. And I think that it gives my cheekbones life. But also, it's more like a bronzer. Like, it kind of very much does give blush. But I personally like that. Anywho, like I was saying, yeah, we sit down to have dinner together and we're having normal ass conversation. And he's like, how can I make this creepy? You know, as men do. And so then again, he brings up the subject of cuddling. He's like, all of a sudden, when there's a moment of silence, and I'm like looking down very clearly, like not trying to make eye contact with him, he looks at me like this and he goes, I really want to cuddle with you. And so then I'm just like, awkward as like, how am I gonna reject this man right now without making him angry because I'm alone in a stranger's house with like no immediate emergency help available? And so I'm just like, okay, what's the nicest way to turn him down, because there's no way to pretend I'm being stupid now. In my head, the nicest way was to say, I think you're too old for me. Just so funny, because like when I told my friends that, they were like, you think that's nice? Like, that was nice in my head, because like the first thing that comes to mind for me is like, honestly, I don't give a about your age. Like, I just think he's ugly as and I don't like his personality. I couldn't stand this guy, okay? And this is the Buttermelt Blush by NYX. I'm gonna do a little setting spray, Urban Decay all-nighter, and I say to him, I don't think we should do that. And he goes, why not? Like, he's still trying to play dumb as though he's not literally being a creep. Like, he's not abusing this power dynamic right now. And like, I'd be stupid enough to fall for that. And I was like, well, I just don't think that we should do that, because like, I wouldn't want us to get confused about what this relationship is. And he was like, and what's that? And I was like, a friendship? Like, what the you expect me to say to that? I don't remember exactly what he said verbatim after that, but like the conversation ended up going somewhere where he ends up saying that he likes me, which is code for I want to get into your pants and I'm trying to pay you with compliments rather than anything that actually holds value. And even all of the money that he does have, because I mean, like, he makes a decent amount of money, it's not going to cover the debt that has been acquired through your negative face card, Joe. The face card was too horrendous to be made up for by any thousands of dollars. It's got to be millions, and even then, there are millionaire men out there who are hotter than you, who I could pull very easily. So you came really barking up the wrong tree. You came barking up the wrong tree from the jump. I don't know why you thought that me and you would ever even be in the same league of consideration. So, like, that's awkward for me that I had to straight up be like, I think you're too old for me. When I said that, he was like, you do? And I was like, yeah. And then he goes, oh, well, I'll be honest. Like, I have been feeling like you've been taking advantage of my niceness around the house. And the only reason I didn't mind is because I just liked you so much. And I was like, Okay, well, how do you feel like I was taking advantage of the work around the house? The one thing that I could think of is that, like, when Mary was around, she did the vast majority of the cooking, like, for dinner. Because really, there were only 2 meals that we had. He only eats breakfast and dinner. And for dinner, Mary would do the cooking the vast majority of the time, and like I would help her with it, but like she was the true cook. Like she was really putting down meals, okay? And like I would help her, but like I'm no cook. I can make a little rice, like I can make a little pasta, you know, but she was up here making gnocchi, like she was eating it up, okay? Figuratively and literally. And then also, like, she would clean without being told to, but, like, if ever he asked me to clean, I'd be like, yeah, for sure. But, like, I'm not just gonna start fucking cleaning unless, like, I make a mess. You need to ask me to clean if you want me to clean, because, like, your profile did not say that you wanted somebody to clean every day. But, like, when I ask him at this moment in time what he means, like, me taking advantage, because like I was working on that little Adobe dome, tearing it down every single fucking day. Like, what do you mean I'm not pulling my weight? And he goes, well, my dream is I wouldn't have to do any cooking or cleaning around the house. So I'm like, oh, so you want a maid but for free, and then you also want to be able to me, so you want a bang maid, aka you want a wife, without actually having to give anything in return. Like, you're literally giving the absolute bare minimum, like taking advantage of the fact that you think that I absolutely need this housing situation, that I will give you that in exchange because I don't have anywhere to go. Like, what the is wrong with you? So I'm over here, I'm like, oh, okay. You're fucked up in the head. I'm starting to really piece together like what's going on at that moment in time. And then I was like, well, you know, like either I can start doing more around the house, or we can figure something out, aka I can leave. And I'm leaning towards I can leave. Like, I'll figure something out. Because, like, let's be so for real, like, that's bullshit. And then also, like, Mary and I never ate breakfast. And, like, if we did, we weren't eating it with him because he had to wake up at the ass crack of dawn to work from home. And we like to sleep in. So I was like, I'm not waking up at fucking 8 a.m. to make you your fucking stupid breakfast. You're a grown-ass man. Get in the kitchen and cook your own. Do I look like anybody's maid? I don't even look like anybody's fucking wife. Like, you better get out of here. At one point, he asked me if I'm looking for a relationship or, like, if I'm not. And I was like, yeah, I'm not. I'll know it when I see it. I did say that verbatim, that I know it when I see it. And then he kind of just, like, emotionally goes off the deep end and starts talking about his exes. One of them, how he played her while her mother was literally dying, and he felt like such a horrible human being for it. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you are, but like also I don't give a like, why are you trauma dumping on me? And then he proceeds to trauma dump on me in fuller detail about his most recent ex, telling me that she seemed to have gotten one over on him. Yeah, he was also telling me about like his previous ex, the one that he fucked over. He didn't find her attractive, and she was also older than him. So it was like clear he was kind of just like settling for what he could have in the moment. Like, that's what it gave. And also, like, this is some context that I hadn't mentioned before. Like, this guy struggles to date. Because I mean, like, he's struggling in the face card department. And like I said, the money is not making up for it. Again, I don't even know this guy. Like, he was fake as hell for a week leading up to him admitting to me that he basically wanted me to be his sex slave. So I'm not blaming his ex for acting the way that she did at all. But then he proceeded to tell me about like all this traumatic that his ex went through, like SA and her childhood upbringing, just a whole bunch of things that I'm just like, okay, like I don't want that in my psyche. Like, I didn't consent to hear all this. Like, I literally feel like you're spiritually assaulting me right now. I did not consent to hear all this. I don't want to hear all this. But also, I'm not trying to provoke him because, again, like, this is a strange man who's pretended to be nice for a week. I don't know about him. I don't want this to turn dangerous, turn violent. So I'm doing just enough to pretend that I care while also, like, not caring enough that he can take, like, him coming on to me any further, and that I'll be appreciative of that. Let's do another spray. and he starts crying to me, and he's just clearly having a mental breakdown. I'm just trying to get out of this situation as safely as possible. I listen to him for as long as I feel like I need to, until I like excuse myself, basically saying, okay, I'm gonna clear the table and like do the dishes for the night. And so then he goes outside with his dog, doing Lord knows what, trying to cope with the fact that he just got rejected by me. And so that's when I text one of my friends from high school who I hadn't spoken to in forever, and I was basically like, girl, you need to come pick me up. I might attach the screenshot of that text because like it was crazy fucking work. And so then she texted another one of my friends from undergrad who was with her husband not too far from where I was. Like they were probably like an hour and a half away with no traffic. And so she tells them what's up, and they come to pick me up. They're my heroes. They come to pick me up and they take me to their place in LA. I stay with them for a bit of time, but then after that, like I did some couch surfing. They obviously were like, what the happened? And I told them, and they were like, oh, that's super up. I mean, everyone I tell this story is like, that's super up. But like, yeah, I feel like I'm finally just now processing it to an extent where it's just like kind of a normal story. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it's not normal. Like, it could have ended really poorly. It could have been very dangerous. I guess what I forgot to mention is that, like, I packed my shit up in the middle of the night, didn't say anything to this guy, and I scheduled a text to be sent to him at 5 a.m. just basically telling him that I left in the middle of the night, and I didn't tell him where I was going, but I did let him know the only reason I was telling him that I left was so that he didn't feel like he had to call the police and like file a missing persons report. But I told him I left because I felt that that was the safest thing to do. If anybody's wondering how worldpackers responded to this situation, they believed me. They told me that they were going to investigate the incident. It did take 2 weeks for my review of the work situation to be uploaded. And so during that 2 weeks, actually, there was a woman who texted me via the app and was like, hey, like, I'm noticing that there are no reviews on here. Like, is this a safe experience? And I was like, girl, no, run, avoid it at all costs. And she was like, thank you so much. Like, it's so sad that people do things like that and like they take advantage of vulnerable young girls. And she was like, that's my worst nightmare. And I was just so grateful that like I could help another woman avoid that. I just feel like if anybody had to go through that, like, I'm glad that I knew how to handle it. Like, I'm glad that I was able to get myself out of a tricky situation like that, and also that I had college friends in the area that even though I hadn't spoken to them in like forever, they still cared about me enough to come through in my time of need. So eternally grateful for that. Also, worldpackers did compensate me like $60 for the money that I had to pull out of my ass to take care of myself after having that safety net snatched from under my feet, because you know I thought I was getting free accommodation for like 2 months, and I had to like figure out like hostel situations, couch hop. Like, it was stressful as hell, but you know, I made it work, and now I have my own apartment and life is good. Oh, I forgot to let you guys know, this is the Milani highly rated anti-gravity mascara. Why am I even showing you guys this as though you can read it? Like, it's backwards. And this is my go-to Fenty Beauty board member. And then I like to emphasize my overlining with this lip pencil. If I find what this is actually called, I'll have to go back in my shopping history to see what this is called because the label is peeled off. And then sometimes I'll leave it like that, but I think it's really like glamorous if you go over it with a gloss. This is Bare Minerals lip gloss in the shade Zen. Makeup can be so fun. But yeah, I got out of that situation and I'm living my best life now. It's not something that I laugh about because, you know, like, that's not f***ing funny, and like, that guy is genuinely a predator. I'll put up the review that I left for him. Pause to read if needed. But yeah, just so you guys know, like, I'm not sure if worldpackers gave him any actual penalty or if he saw my review and personally deactivated his account, because like my one singular rating on his page called him a predator and gave him a 1-star rating for his entire experience. But within a week or two of my review going up, his volunteer application was taken down. So he's not on the site anymore preying on people and getting volunteers through the worldpackers site. So there has been some sort of resolution I just don't know if he took it down himself out of embarrassment or if worldpackers took it down for him. And it's unfortunate that there can't be any legal consequences, but it's like there's not anything legally binding to pin this guy. He's just a fucking creep and a weirdo. And at least he's not on the site anymore. Unfortunately, we don't live in a world where things like this can just be fun, safe travel experiences where you get to learn and grow. Sometimes it is, like, again, I had a good experience at Manjushri, the Buddhist temple I was telling you guys about in England, but sometimes you run into creeps who abuse systems like this so that they can get things out of other people, and thank God I didn't let him do that, because sometimes you do have a say, and even though it's scary, you can say no. So yeah, thanks guys for listening. If you have any questions, comment them down below and like, let's have a conversation. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you follow my Instagram and my TikTok. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.